this. I'm going to bring this up because this is really an important article. And it's a Politico article. A $2 million missile versus a $2,000 drone. Pentagon worried over cost of Houthi attacks. And then they go on to talk about it. And basically what they say is the cost of using expensive naval missiles, which can run $2.1 million to destroy unsophisticated drones, estimated at a few $1,000s each, is a growing concern. And they've even said that the U.S. Ships would eventually run out of missiles and they'd have to return to port to rearm because of the number of missiles and the number of drones that the Houthis can fight. So let's talk about this conflict from the perspective of what the Houthis bring to bear with their drones and their missiles. What type of missiles? How dangerous are they? Et cetera. Because I know you know a lot about missiles. Your thoughts, Scott Ritter?
Well, look, if I were planning the Houthi attack, and they're smarter than I am with theirs, this is exactly the ratio that I want. I want to fire the cheapest possible weapon at the Americans or their coalition and compel them to respond with weapons that are uniformly expensive in nature. And I would do this again. The Houthi are smart. They know what the magazine capacity is of American ships, and they know when they'll reach missile depletion. And you coordinate that so right around the time that missile depletion is reached, you hit with a saturation attack, and hopefully, from a Houthi perspective, you hit a ship or two and you sink one, and you just won the war. Look, there's nothing the United States can do to change what's happened here. We would have to physically land 100,000 Marines on the Yemen soil to secure the strait, to physically remove that. We don't have 100,000 Marines to land, and how are we going to get them that close to shore? The former Marine Corps commandant, when he took over, said that the classic way that we're currently configured is a legacy system of amphibious warfare, where we put all the Marines on one big ship, inviting that ship to be sunk. And remember this: in order to get towards Yemen, we have to go into waters where Yemen can reach us. So this is stupidity in the extreme. Look, we have very capable naval systems. Don't get me wrong; our radars are good, our missiles are good, but they ain't cheap, and they can be depleted. And the Houthi have systems that are basically, they're willing to trade off to achieve this depletion. What we don't know is what Iran has provided the Houthi that the Houthi haven't yet used. The Iranians aren't stupid, and they can provide technology packets, etc. Maybe the Houthi have a missile with a maneuvering warhead that changes the dynamic of force protection. Maybe they have a missile that can fly to near hypersonic speeds. Who knows what they have? We don't know. Maybe they have nothing. But the point is, why are we doing this? What do we hope to achieve? We will not open up the straits. We will not. The straits will be closed to Israeli all shipping. And we can't open it. This is the reality. You remember how confident the United States was? We can keep the Strait of Hormuz open. No, you can't. The Iranians would shut that thing down forever. And now you can't even keep the strait open against the Houthi, who lack, they have 1/10 the capacity of Iran or even less. We're in danger of exposing ourselves as the frauds that we are. This carrier battle group is a legacy concept dating back to World War II. It has no application in modern warfare today whatsoever. None. You think the Houthi are afraid of American airplanes dropping American bombs? Hell, they've been doing that since 2014. The Saudis have been flying American airplanes, dropping American bombs using American intelligence. It ain't going to change anything because now the airplanes take off from an aircraft carrier, except that it's going to be easier for the Houthi to target that aircraft carrier. This is stupidity in the extreme. What happens when we exhaust our missiles and we have to return to port? Rotate in another aircraft carrier? Who's paying for this? Remember how we complained how the carrier battle groups that are operating in the Mediterranean, we didn't have a budget. They were eating into their own, training budgets and everything to sustain this. I think there was I think that problem's been resolved, but this is very expensive to accomplish what? The carrier battle group simply can't win anything. It will cost Team Biden highly. It'll be fatal to us because we're not going to win. We're not going to win. It's going to be yet another embarrassment. And as we continue to fail globally, all we do is empower other nations to step up. We want to maintain the concept, the perception of American strength, and we hope to build upon that perception to deter people from doing just what the Houthi are doing. But the Houthi are exposing the whole thing as a lie. This is why it's very dangerous to have allowed this to come to this, because now, if we don't act, we're damned if we do, damned if we don't. If we don't act, the Houthi have just showed every other half-baked power in the world that you give them a couple missiles and everything, they can shut things down. And there's not anything America can do about it anymore. If we react, we're going to lose. And the consequences of losing here are immense, because what happens if Iran decides? What happens if we end up drawing the Iranians? And because the Houthi have said things such as, you attack us, Saudi oil production ceases to exist. Oops. What do we do about that? What happens when they take out the United Arab Emirates oil production? Are we going to take out Iran's oil production? Then Iran's going to take out every American installation in the Middle East? And then what? I mean, see, we're heading towards stupid quicker than we can possibly imagine. Nobody's thinking through the consequences of American chest beating. We're America. We can deploy a carrier battle group. So what? No one cares anymore. No one's losing any sleep about an American carrier battle group 2 or 3. The world doesn't care anymore because it's an irrelevant military force. So you drop bombs. So what? They've adapted to it. They've all gone underground. Learn from Hamas. 6,000 American bombs have come down on Hamas, and they're still kicking. Hezbollah's even deeper underground. You ain't going to even get a spot of dirt to come off their little bunker by bombing them. And they've got tunnels that reach deep inside Israel. People don't know that. And they're going to come screaming out of those tunnels. And, and the Houthi, you're not going to beat the Houthi. You're literally not. They can't invade America, so we're not worried about that. We should, so what are we doing trying to go to war against them? They're shutting down the strait for what reason? Because of Israel's ongoing genocide against the Palestinian people. It's not.
Let me ask this, Scott. And what they said was they're doing it because of the refusal to allow food and humanitarian stuff. Allowing food and humanitarian supplies in. That's all they asked for, right? They didn't say you got to end it. They want it ended. Here's the question. Is that too much to add? Their request is in no way an unreasonable request. The world looks at what's going on in that standoff and says, what they're asking for is fairly reasonable. Are you willing to, let's face it, the direction we're going, because through the Red Sea, all this stuff from China, from the East, goes through the Red Sea to where? To Europe. Europe is the one. The EU their economy will be wiped out if this keeps going. So the question is, are you willing to wipe out the economy of Europe rather than simply allow humanitarian supplies into Gaza? It's madness, Scott.
It's more than madness, because again, think of why we're doing this. We're doing this because Israel wants to kill Palestinians. Let's just be straight up here. There is no military strategy for Israel anymore. They can't win against Hamas. They've already proven it. And America's told them, you got to shut this thing down come the end of the year. Okay, you got to transition to another mode of operation. So what's Israel doing between now and the end of the year? Simply slaughtering as many Palestinian civilians as possible. That's it. It's genocide. And we're the ones enabling it. We're going to veto another UN effort to bring about a ceasefire. A ceasefire. We say no, let the Israelis kill as many Palestinians, because it's not about defeating Hamas. It's literally about slaughtering Palestinians. The Houthi have said We want that to come to an end. We need humanitarian good. So America is going to sacrifice everything, because we're going to lose. I'm just telling you straight up, we're going to lose. We're sacrificing everything for what? For what? If we just, because we're not going to solve the maritime crisis that's taking place in the Red Sea right now. It ain't going away. It could go away if we just told Israel to stop. Now, we've made a decision. It's a despicable decision, but we made a decision that we're going to let Israel, we've greenlighted Israel's ability to slaughter thousands of Palestinians as part of their collective punishment. Because right now, Israel is only after revenge. They're simply trying to tell the Palestinians, you can never let a Hamas thing like this happen again, because Hamas will not be defeated. Hamas will always be there. So what Israel's saying is, we're going to make sure you understand the price you paid is so high that if Hamas ever says, hey, we want to do that again, you say no. That's the Israeli objective. It won't work because the Palestinian people are like, we're all behind this stuff now. So we're going to sacrifice everything to appease Israel, because that's what this is about. What it tells you is the control that Israel has over the American domestic political reality. Israel controls everything. We're not a sovereign state anymore. Israel literally has bought the American Congress and bought the American presidency and bought the American establishment. Where's the American media? You know, I was always one of those people that sort of got a little uneasy when people would put up the list of media moguls in America and talked about how many of them were Jewish and how many had links to Israel. I'm like, oh God, that's a little anti-Semitic, don't you think? Not anymore, because the silence of the American media is deafening. The American media is standing by and allowing Israel to commit genocide, and they're not doing a damn thing about it. This should be at the top of everybody's. This should be the lead story. They should be calling out the hypocrisy of the Biden administration. They should be condemning Benjamin Netanyahu. They should be condemning Israel, but they can't, because Israel owns them. Israel owns everything. And so America is going to be sacrificed on the altar of Zionism, on the altar of this Israeli state. It's mind-boggling because it's stupid. It's counterproductive. Nothing good comes from this. This is all about assuaging the ego of Benjamin Netanyahu, the world's most evil man today. There's nobody in the world more evil than Benjamin Netanyahu, and he's an American friend. He's an American ally. We're going to let him kill as many Palestinians as possible. This is Christmas. I hope every American listening looks in the mirror and pukes, because that's what you should do when you look at your reflection, because you're an American. You stand for nothing except the death of so many people. We suck as a country. We have become so far off course, it's not even funny. And we can't even, you would hope, Garland, that there would be people around Joe Biden, because let's look at this in the proper context to show you the stupidity and the insanity of what's going on here. Joe Biden is an American politician. He wants to run for presidency, re-election in 2024. Do you think a war with Yemen that's going to shut down oil production collapse? Remember James Carville? It's the economy, stupid. It was true when he told it to Bill Clinton back in the early 1990s, as it is today. It's the economy. Americans will vote based upon the economy, not by national security in the Middle East. We don't care. There's a handful of American Jews that say Israel's so important, but the most of Americans, they don't care. They go the way they're told to go. They're compliant sheep, black sheep, head to slaughter all you want. But the point is, somebody's got to tell him that if the economy collapses, and it will collapse because of this, you ain't getting reelected. So what you might want to do is a policy that seeks to keep the economy afloat. The other thing is, if you're going to be a wartime president, because there's a lot of people saying that Biden, in order to get reelected, is going to have to redefine himself as a wartime president. Win the damn war. The American military can't win a war today. I'm just putting it out there. Look how impotent we are. The Houthi are going to beat us. Okay, the Houthi are going to beat us. Not because they're going to invade America, not because they're going to do this, because we can't beat them. America can't beat anybody anymore. Hell, I don't even know if we could invade Grenada anymore. That was Ronald Reagan's big thing. I don't think we can replicate that victory. We damn sure can't do the Gulf War over again, 1991. We can't put 750,000 people on the ground with all that air power and do that. We can't replicate what we did in 2003 in invading Iraq. We can't replicate what we did in Afghanistan. We weren't able to sustain 5,000 troops in Afghanistan. We're going to have to withdraw from Syria and Iraq because it's unsustainable. We got 100,000 troops in Europe. We can't put any more there because we can't afford it. We can't do any. We spend nearly $1 trillion a year on our defense budget, $1 trillion a year, and we can't do anything. Again, America, how stupid are you to let this continue? Why do you let Congress continue to vote for these budgets when every budget, the more money we put in, the weaker we get? Because we are a very, very weak nation. We can't beat the Houthi.
I also think that something's important here, and that is one of the reasons the U.S. is a military is not dominant anymore is technology. Now small state actors, right? The Hezbollah, non-state actors, excuse me, the Houthi, which are questionably whether they're state actors, have the ability to get their hands on missiles that can take out a $13 billion aircraft carrier, at minimum disable it, right? The fact that very people without a lot of money, without a lot of power, I put it like this. Here's what they've learned from Ukraine. Ukraine did us in. They watched that and they've learned something. Hell, drones are cheap. The Russians were spending all of this money on Kinzhal missiles and all this stuff at the beginning, and they're like, well, hell, for one of these missiles, we can make about 5,000 of these little Duranian drones and hit everything. We can take out everything. So the lessons that have been learned from the Ukraine conflict are the weaknesses of a big empire, of the big bodybuilder who can bench 500 pounds, but he's so slow that the little guy runs around in circles of 50 times and he tries to chase the guy and he passes out because of exhaustion. He swings at the guy's over here, there, and all. It is the big hulking behemoth, our tank. It's too big. The M1, the Abrams or whatever, it's too big, it's too heavy, and it burns too much fuel. Everything we got is too big, too heavy, too overweight. And people are like, well, I could take that tank out with a $5,000 drone. I'll do that. You know what I mean? The lessons that have been learned. Ukraine is the worst conflict ever for the U.S. It kind of ended us because everybody learned how to defeat us.
Yeah. Well, when you talk about the guy who can bench 500 pounds, hey, and we used to be able to bench 500 pounds. Right. We're the guy, I don't know, in college football, if you made certain benchmarks on your right. bench press, you got the shirt, you got the 300-pound club. I never made it. I couldn't put up 300, sorry. But, but there are guys who did that and then all that stuff. So we're the guy that's wearing the 500-pound shirt. I bench 500. But we get in there and we wear the shirt and we're the guys that start warming up and we get to 225 and then we start going over and talking to people. And we don't go back to the bench. But we wear that 500-pound shirt as if we can do it still. We can't bench 500 pounds today. Can't do it. We can't bench 300 pounds today. We may be able to put 2 1/4 up. That's it. That's all we got. We're not that person anymore. That's the reality. And it's embarrassing. The American public should demand more of their budget. We put so much money. I mean, again, $1 trillion a year for what? We don't need these aircraft carriers. They are just the stupidest weapon system in the world today. The Russians have learned a lot of things. Their Black Sea fleet, what brought down the Black Sea fleet? I mean, it's not been brought down, but what humbled it? Underwater drones. We keep talking about the Houthi air drones coming in. What happens when the Houthi say, okay, flood the Eisenhower battle group right now, send 150 drones in, and they're out there firing their missiles, doing their whole thing. The battle staff's doing that, and go ahead and launch 20 underwater drones at them as well. And all of a sudden it's like, holy cow, we got underwater drones. They just hit, they breached, the carriers down. And it didn't cost the Houthi anything to do. If you don't think the Houthi have underwater drones, you don't know anything about the Houthi. The Russians have learned from this. You know what the Russians are getting ready to deploy? They're building their own underwater drones. When you look at them, they're almost an exact replica of the British design drones that the Ukrainians have been using against them. Because the Russians went, that was a pretty effective concept. We're going to borrow that one. We're going to improve on it. We're going to make it a better weapon system. And they have this technology sharing thing with the Iranians right now. And I'm sure the Iranians right now are going, thank you for that blueprint. We're going to be producing our own version of this. And the Iranians are going to the Houthi, hey, here's some blueprints. Let's show you how to do this. And the Houthi have industrial things underground, and they're cranking those things out. Guys, it's game, set, match. Our military is too expensive. We don't get enough bang for the buck out of our conventional forces anymore. We don't have, I mean, at a time when Russia is bringing in 1,500 guys a day, volunteers for the special military operation, we're 60,000 short in our recruiting. Our military is shrinking right now because we can't attract people in America to join it. And you really think they want to join a Navy that's getting sunk, an Army that can't deploy? I mean, even the Marine Corps, which traditionally has good recruiting, I mean, at some point in time, the Marine Corps, and I'll say this for the Marines, they're very honest. And I know the Marine Corps has said, because I listened to the former commandant and listened to this commandant. He's telling people, we can't do what you want us to do. We can't do it. We're working for it. We're striving for it. Marine Corps got rid of all of its tanks because it was just being too expensive. They got rid of their military police, too expensive, because they were trying to create combat power that could be survivable in a South Pacific environment. But today, the Chinese would just swamp us and kill us all. Scope and scale. The Chinese have got so much more, and they've taken the technologies that are designed to defeat our expensive technologies. Their cheaper technologies can defeat our more expensive technologies. This is what the Houthi are going to do. It's a form of hybrid warfare, where they don't have to mobilize the entire resources of the nation state like we do. We literally are bankrupting ourselves to sustain a military that can't fight. Whereas the Houthi and everybody else, for pennies to a dollar, are able to match us and exceed us because they're not trying to invade us. They're just defending their homes. They're just defending.
Right.
It's a lot cheaper just to sit there and say, you come to me, because a lot of our money goes into power projection. But if you can't project sufficient power, what's the purpose in projecting power to begin with? If you can't back this up, if we can't tell the Houthi, see, I'll tell you what, I can guarantee a different outcome. If the Houthi believed that we could put 750,000 troops on the shore, and they wouldn't be doing this.
Right.
Because we could, and we would take them out. I mean, that's just the reality. But we can't anymore, so they're not afraid of it. We can't sustain a meaningful ground presence in, the Southern Arabian Peninsula anymore.